Hello everybody, welcome to this week's video. Today we are visiting a place that everyone has been and everyone might have seen on the internet over the last few months, looking a bit down. But we're going to do a really happy, positive video. And when I said we, I mean me and my good friend Mark Flack, because right now we're in Soy 8. You've seen it on YouTube over the past few months looking very, very bad. And let's be honest, it's not looking at its best. In fact, I was waiting for everyone to arrive to make this video, and I saw two people making YouTube videos about Soy 8. And I know what those videos are going to be about already. It's going to be how empty it was, how dead it is. But let's do a positive one. And Mark, my good friend, is going to tell us all about the times when he used to come here on holiday, Mark.
Yeah. This would be the moment, right, that I think the holiday used to actually really get going.
What year are you talking about, Mark?
Oh, I would be going back to maybe 2000, 2001, 2002, that kind of year.
So a young Flack, fresh from Shepherd's Bush in London. Yeah, already. Yeah, he's got his suitcase. He's packed. He's in the taxi.
I think a lot of people, like myself, basically you'd work all year. You'd be working really hard, and then, of course, you come here at Christmas time. This would be my time that I would come. I'd be looking forward to it. I'd come out with friends, and the taxi used to swing down here, right, into Soy 8.
System. Here we are,
and here we are at the moment. Now, when you used to know that I used to get the Eve Rare flight, so I used to be on the night flight, 9:30. Yeah. I used to time it perfectly. So
did you, young yuppie, was you in business class or maybe premium economy?
No, I'll be honest with you, right? It was minimum spend, right? because not because I couldn't afford premium economy, but I could work out that basically you could get an extra week at the Flipper Lodge for the money that you would pay. Exactly. So for me, it was sometimes a bus down to the airport. Have a beer at the airport, but this would be when the party would really start.
So for you, turning into Soy 8, this was the start of the party, because for me, it was when the pilot made that announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are just making our descent into Bangkok International Airport. Please fasten your safety belts.
That was it for me, but for you, it was here.
For me, it was get off the plane as quickly as possible. You fly down to get a taxi. Sometimes what I used to do, I never even used to book a taxi. You could get taxis that were actually dropping people off, just jump straight in them, they'd get a return fare.
Right. And this was Don Muang Airport to start off with?
This was Don Muang, absolutely.
And the famous golf course that we've talked about earlier?
Yeah, of course. This would be the Flipper Lodge. This would be where I would stay.
So this was Flack Towers for 2 weeks?
Maybe 3 weeks, yeah, with my friends. And on the top, they have a swimming pool, and it looks a little bit sad at the moment.
I mean, has it changed architecturally? Or
no, it hasn't changed architecturally. The sad thing is, if you look round it, that used to be the beer. There used to be a cocktail bar there. You've got the swimming pool right up on the top, and you've literally alongside down here was like an internet cafe. They had an internet cafe within their hotel, which is obviously gone now. Everyone's got mobile phones.
Internet cafe.
But the taxi, so that you'd have all online internet here, and then the taxis used to pull in here, right? This is, if you remember what people used to say.
How many times have I heard the taxi pulled in at Flipper Lodge? Yeah. And all the girls went crazy, and it was here. It was the sweet spot.
It was right here, and what would happen is, a lot of these were all bar beers, okay? They still are, okay? But around about 6 o'clock at night, I think you would have anywhere in the region, and for people that don't know or didn't experience it, I think you would probably have in the region of at least 500 to 750 girls just working, starting work down here. Sure. This was absolutely huge. So of course, then you would dash upstairs, have a shower. I don't know what we used to do. I used to turn around to my friends, right, see you in as quickly as possible. Right. So it'd be literally 10 minutes, nobody, and then you were out and you were on the Soy and you were ready to start your night. And I know people who literally stayed at the Flipper Lodge and spent their entire holiday on Soy 8 because it was great.
Yeah, I do too.
Should we have a look at some of the bars?
Martin Carlisle from NDTVI, he's one of his favourite bars.
Yeah.
It's the famous 55 bar cocktail bar The Sailor Bar, we should say, first of all, it's the
Yeah,
Sailor Bar.
I don't, do you know what? I don't think prices have changed that much in 20 years here. Because I remember my friends
I
going,
don't think the girls have either, to be honest.
No, absolutely. I remember my friends used to basically, they used to go in there and they used to have the cocktails. And the thing is, you could go in there at happy hour or whatever. It doesn't really matter if it's happy hour. It's only 50 baht for a 30 baht for a Samsung soda now or whatever.
Yeah.
But you could go in there on happy hour. They used to come out some nights around about 8:30, ready to start their night. Absolutely wrecked. They've done 9-10 cocktails, you know. Great value for money.
So Flacky, he's got off the plane, he's got off Slipper Lodge, he's gone upstairs.
Yes.
He's got the Lynx antiperspirant on, he's had a shower.
Got the brute on, ready to go.
He's ready, he's rock and roll.
Rock and roll for the night.
He's got his fresh underwear on. We're hitting Soy 8.
Yeah.
Should we go?
Yes, let's go and have a look. Let's go and have a look. So this is now a 7-Eleven, but this used to be Silver Star a Go-Go on Soy 8. So what you used to have, and that is it, right? It's now a 7-Eleven.
Well, it's not even a 7-Eleven because it's
not even. It's a closed down 7-Eleven. Yeah. But on the Soy, you actually had not just bar beers. At one point you had like a little mini nightclub going on as well, but you also had go-go bars. So if you think about it, for a guy coming over here on his holiday, one of the big appeals about Soy 8 was the fact that it didn't just have beer bars and places to eat, but it also had go-go bars. And of course, the go-go's back then, at 6 o'clock, this would be opening. It would be ready for business. And, you know, at the moment, we've of course got midnight closures, but Soy 8 was pretty much, I'm going to say it was pretty much 24 hours.
And the great thing is, it's nice how the 7-Eleven have retained a certain aspect of the go-go bar, the ATM machines.
Yes.
Because it was full of ATM machines in a previous life, and there's 2 of them there now.
I'd imagine if we have a look at 7-Eleven, they sell ping pong balls as well. So, I mean, you know, you could get that whole original Soy 8 feel. It'd be
really great if you walked into a go-go bar and it went, beep,
absolutely.
Turn car. Okay, so I know you've got a friend who runs this bar.
So I'll talk to you. Well, this is actually one of the original bar owners on the Soy. Yeah, that basically is what B52 Bar is. A girl called Kung and Stefano, her Italian husband, have got this as a business. They're legends on the Soy. They've been on the Soy for years and years and years. They know so many people. Of course, they're struggling at the moment, but you know, we're going to keep it positive. I'm sure when the borders do reopen or whatever, businesses that are well established, that have networked well, people will go and see them and support them. And I think down here as well, there will be a little bit of a resurgence.
Well, the great thing that, I mean, I talked to Stefano. I think he was with me as well. He says he's doing fine because he bought the building. So you can't lose.
It wouldn't be. I know we should never really talk about people's businesses or anything like that. But if you'd have bought a business down here in the heyday, when there was, you know, we're talking hundreds of thousands of pounds spent every single day down on this Soy, where the exchange rates were good. You had. It was just really before social media was really coming on board, although people did have telephones then. People still talk about the telephones, that's what killed it. As soon as the phones came out, it enabled people to communicate with SMS a lot quicker.
I remember going into a bar in 1996 and all the girls were sitting there reading comic books.
Yeah.
Now, how is that any different to them? I'm not defending mobile phones, by the way. The girls shouldn't really be on phones. Course. They should be giving you your attention. But they're all reading comic books, and they used to write to customers, I've said this 100 times, using airmail, and the airmail messages you got were complete rubbish. You know, oh, I miss you, Tirak. You know, have you eaten yet? I mean, what the hell? But that's what it used to be, and I don't necessarily think that things have changed. They've just gone electronic and digital. That's all.
Now we have to talk about this bar, because I would turn around and say, so many people will have so many good memories of actually not just this bar, but this bar complex.
Yes.
Okay.
Me too.
So for me.
So just let people know who don't know, was this hadn't got a name necessarily, the whole complex, but
yeah. Well, this is the Barron Beach Hotel complex, right? And this was Best Bar, and if ever you were sort of down here in the early sort of 2003, 4, whatever, and for a whole number of years, this was the most popular bar, I believe, on the Soy. Now, it's no disrespect, because we're going to talk about another one of our friends' bars in a minute.
Yes.
Who I know is a friend of the show. But if you look here, it's going to be difficult because it's actually all taped off and we can't get in. But of course, they had like a legends wall up here with all of the names of all the bell ringers, and you literally couldn't get any more on. You had Coyotes from 6 o'clock in the evening, and they would not just dance up on the bar and all of that type of stuff, but they would be dancing up on top of here.
Yeah, I remember.
And you would have maybe anywhere between 25 to 35 Coyotes on show, plus girls behind the bar. And I would turn around and say, like, from 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, people used to come down to Best Bar. They used to show sport. It was very, very, very popular. And it's a real shame.
Now, me being a boring old fart
Yes.
who complains about everything. Oh, may I cup, may I cup? You can see, I don't know if the cameraman can pick up, these black empty boxes where the speakers were, and they weren't the being an audiophile, I said audiophile. The music was all I remember about this bar, there was loads of girls here, but the music was so distorted and terrible. But I did used to sit here and next door, and I know we're going to talk about next door.
Well, look, I just want to see if we can pop in here, because it's a little bit closed down.
Yes,
we might be able to sneak in.
Just pop over. You can see that sign that says no video.
So, no video. So let's see if we can go in a little bit, because I'm sure some people will actually have memories of this.
Any kind of security.
So, if you what Phil pointed out earlier, one of my memories on Soy was quite how loud it was, all right, which was fine for me because I was on holiday, but I don't know how I could people could ever actually work here. If you look round, you can still see the speaker units, right? So every bar had an individual sound system, and they were all competing for each other. And I've noticed that even today, a lot of Thai bars, they still do that, right? They think we turn up our music as loud as possible, and it'll attract customers. But these bars all along here, again, like Best Bar, and we'll talk about the famous one in a minute, these all had girls up, dancing. It was all the way through, and you had it was just a real big party Soy, and it's very difficult to try and get that across here when you're looking at it as a completely empty complex. And we'll talk a little bit about why it actually happened and why people started
on the subject of audio. I don't know if people have noticed, there was a couple of motorbikes that went by a little one. I hope the light's okay that you can see us at the moment, but when the motorbikes went by, the echo stayed in here because there's quite a low ceiling. So even in some outside bars, sometimes there's loud music, but it just goes up. But here, it was all trapped in here, and of course, it would reflect off that end, that side of the Soy as well. And I want to talk about that side of the Soy a little bit later. But shall we move on?
Can we just go? We can move on.
He bullies me.
Just very briefly. So, of course, right, you had the toilets at the back here, right? The toilets used to be, right, the rent on it was 45,000 a month, right?
Wow.
That was for the toilets.
For the toilet.
Yeah, because my friend that's got the bar, he used to turn around and say, I have to pay almost as much as my friend's toilet.
Oh, I wouldn't believe
now, here...
And you believed him.
Right, I'm not sure if they can still see, but I'm going to go for this anyway, okay? This is now all blocked off, okay?
Yeah.
And it looks like it's derelict or, there's nothing in there. That used to be a go-go bar, so it's probably still got all of the systems and everything. 100%, this used to be a go-go bar. It was called Bada Bing, right?
I remember,
So the guy that named it, and inside, I remember when he bought it, had all luxury couches inside. It was done in the style of Sopranos, because obviously Bada Bing was from the Sopranos. And of course,
some kind of TV program I've never heard of.
I know you haven't, mate. You get round to it one day. But he had a go-go bar there. I wouldn't turn around and say it was the best location in Pattaya.
No.
And I wouldn't turn around and say that I thought it was going to be a success. And you know what? I came here in December, came back for Songkran, and it was gone.
Oh dear.
So essentially, some of the lads that I used to come on holiday with, some of my family from Bristol, so we used to go over to and by the Easterney Hotel, again, which is a really popular hotel. In fact, if you were at some of the bar complexes at around about 5 or 6 in the morning, you could look up and you could see some of the guests at the hotel having a fantastic time on the balcony. But this used to be Bristol First Bar. So this was one of the first beer bars that I kind of drank in because my friends were from Bristol. We used to come in here. It used to be a guy called Andy, I think, that used to do it. And times were different then. I remember he used to do border runs to Cambodia every 30 days. And it was a very, very popular bar. A lot of guys used to drink over there.
Lots and lots of girls in there. I mean, considering the size of the bar, it was just full of girls.
Absolutely. And he used to rock up about 6 o'clock. Used to have a really big following, and people used to pack that out. And I remember being in that bar, and it was Andy that turned around and said to me, "Oh, there's a new bar owner that's just opened up, and which is here, I think, roughly here." He said, "Oh, it's Adam from England has just bought a bar, and he's called it the Cherry Bar." And I remember used to looking over, and of course this was essentially what the Cherry Bar was. And Adam was one of the very first bar owners, in my opinion, to weaponize the internet. Right, so he used to come over on holiday, and he used to write trip reports about his experiences of Pattaya on the Pattaya Talk forum. And what he did was he started a blog called Living the Dream, which was what it was like to actually give up your life in the UK. He used to just have an office job, saved up his money, actually bought this beer bar, the Cherry Bar, and he used to write a regular blog on Pattaya Talk. And I have to turn around and say, everyone turned around and told him not to do it. That it would be a failure.
Always,
because that's what everyone does. If you're not going to chase your own dream, then why should you let somebody else have it? And I have to say, I think Adam has now been in Pattaya for 15 or 16 years.
Right.
He has changed location. And one of the reasons, we can talk a little bit about that later, but one of the reasons why he changed location was basically when this was in its heyday, you could afford to pay the rents on the bar. You were doing really well. You would have good months and things like that, and because he used Pattaya Talk, he had a big following.
Pattaya Talk was the
very first internet forum,
and we were talking to our friend Callum about that. In a video that I'll put at the top there about the early days of Pattaya Talk and the FLB bar, which the same sort of crew, the same sort of people went to.
And they would, of course, because people were engaged on an online community, they were always naturally going to support their friends and their posters, and especially if they'd liked some of the posts on there. Some of these other bars, there used to be Midnight Magic. I think then you've got Cherry Bar. There used to be a bar down here called Yates's.
So when did Adam leave the Cherry Bar Soy 8 and go to Soy Diana, where he is now?
Must be about 8 or 9 years ago, maybe. I'd message him, but he doesn't get up for another 9 hours.
No. By the way, there's some photos on the wall there, some Polaroid photos. That was a thing that they always used to do. I'd love to go and see what they look like. Maybe,
it really was a little bit like the Wild West, because elephants used to come down the soil, not turning around and saying, "By the way, I agreed with that." Even then, I thought it was. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, you'd be sat having a beer, and then 2 minutes later, you'd be on top of an elephant, or people would be feeding them.
You couldn't go on top of them, but you could feed them.
No.
Yeah.
I remember one guy.
And they were baby. Wait, let me say, they were baby elephants.
They were baby elephants.
They weren't the
I remember one guy, the street vendors who were actually quite renowned down on this soy. There was they bought a snake. He had a picture taken with a snake, right? then 2 minutes later, they'd spotted that this guy seemed to be having his picture taken with everything, right? And I kid you not, right? There was like those little furry not rats, but there's the furry thing. There was the snake. Then there was the Birdman that came over and really. And I think honestly that some Thai girl was trying to get a stray dog and just pick it up and hand it to him because he was going to give 100 baht. So down here, one of the things that I didn't like even then, but I could understand it, was you had the street vendors. Want to just talk about some of the other. If you look at most of the businesses, like the hotels, and some of the businesses that have actually stayed down here, right? They're generally people that actually own the buildings, right?
Yeah.
Like the Sailor Bar, like B52 on Soy 8.
Yeah.
You've got lots of 7-Elevens and things like that that have taken over the place. But
no, it looks like, just talking about 7-Eleven, that's all got newspaper in there, and it's obviously closed down, but it looks like that's going to be open up soon. So
yeah, absolutely.
The green shoots are appearing.
if you look at what's happened at, say, commonly known now as Soy Boomerang or Soy 15, if I'd have turned around a year ago and said in the height of COVID, hey, there's going to be 20 new bars opening down here, everyone would have gone, oh no, what absolute nonsense. But what happens is, if you have a situation where the landlords can bring down the rents, then people will start having a go. And of course that will generate much more business, that will generate much more turnover. These are genuinely two of the bars. But people do find it very hard to believe. You know, this was a very popular go-go bar. Sexy Girls a Go-Go. Very, very popular. And opposite here was where the original B52 bar was back in the early days, okay? So guys would go in there. You used to have the nail game. So essentially what that would be, you'd have a tree trunk. You used to have nails, and boom, 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 boom. People used to play for shots. And I can remember, I mean, it's hard for people to fathom now, but you know, if you got in before 6 o'clock in the morning on Soy 8, you'd done really well. You were really proud of yourself. Now, just here as well, where we were, just here is a piece of history, believe it or not, because this was where the very first doner kebab stand was in Pattaya.
Oh wow!
This was literally, and when she opened, I kid you not, from here right up until the end, okay, that was basically the queue for the doner kebab shop, right?
And the doner kebabs in Thailand, for those people who've never been, it's mainly chicken meat. It's not
mainly chicken meat, absolutely. But again, that just gives you an example. Great.
I think it's time for a cocktail down the Sailor Bar, Mark.
You can pay 50 baht. All right, great.
We'll put it on the expenses. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, don't forget to press like, subscribe to the channel, and once again, thank you very much, Mark.
You're welcome.
We'll see you soon.